Hey guys, welcome back. I'm going to be working on the kick cabinet today. I need to work on Spy Hunter as well, but kind of want to get this out of the way because I don't want to get overspray or dirt and stuff on this cabinet because I'm keeping this original artwork. Spy Hunter is getting new vinyl artwork, so it's not a big deal. So first thing I want to do today is I got to fill in a hole here, which I don't even know what the heck that is there for. I don't know why they drilled that there. And then we have two holes in the front here, which I don't know that I'm going to have a dowel rod that size. We got to take the coin door off too. But so what I bought was, I always buy dowel rods and then I end up using part of it and then I end up using it for something else and end up not having them. So I went and bought some packages of these splined ones, and thinking about it, I think the splined ones are a little bit better because the glue has surface area to stick into. I think this is a 7/16. I think this might fit in this hole here. Let's try it. Yes, okay, that's a good fit. So that'll be nice to put that one there. I gotta figure out this front. I'm gonna have to go see what I have for dowel rods for the front. Let's take off this coin door real quick so that I can be able to sand that stuff plus paint the front of the cabinet. So I got one plug here I just need to undo. The harness for the coin door is missing. I'm gonna have to make one. I'm actually probably gonna end up making the harness for this whole cabinet because I can't find one, and I don't want to buy a whole Tron harness with the whole cabinet harness and everything because I don't need all that, and it's kind of a waste of money in my opinion. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Tron harness that I have in my Tron game, take one section out at a time and just duplicate it. The only thing different is a little bit different on the controls, which I think I have the control harness. I think the original harness is on that original control panel. And then coin door, that's not a big deal to make that. And then the only other thing I need to do is run a 5-volt wire to the control panel so I can light up the kick buttons. So I think I should have all the connectors and everything to do it. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and do it and not worry about waiting for one or spending a bunch of money on it. I have plenty of wire in the back here. So I think I should be good wire wise. As you can see, I have this whole rack of wire. So hopefully this is all the colors I need. Plus I have colored shrink tube that I could put on the wire. Let's say it's an orange wire with a red stripe. I could put a little piece of red shrink tube on that wire to know that it's dedicated to that. So let me go see what I have for dowel rods for that front, and I'll be right back. Okay, I do not have a dowel rod that size. Now, yesterday I was working on this pickup truck and I had to find the valves so I can fill up the front air ride and stuff. So between that and working on my basement, I went to Home Depot and Lowe's yesterday 5 times. And I don't feel like going anymore. I even went to Lowe's this morning and I went out and picked up a game, which I already have. I didn't need it, but it was a good deal. It's in my van right now. But anyways, I'll show that to you guys later today or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow. I don't think I'm gonna take it out today. But anyways, just sick of running to Lowe's and Home Depot. So I'm gonna make my own dowels for the front. I have a piece of pine here. It's like a 1-inch square piece of pine. We're just gonna round it on the belt sander and make our own. Screw it. I don't know that I would be able to find the right size dowel rod for this anyways, so why not just make it real quick. And my ratchets. Oh man, my tools are outside in the car because I'm working on our new Bronco, because it has a coolant leak and it's out of warranty. The dealership said it's a normal wear part and they won't warranty it. So they want to charge me $1,200 to fix a coolant leak. So now I've got it all torn apart and I'm doing it myself because I am not about to waste that kind of money to get ripped off from the dealership, because that's just how that goes nowadays. So I need a 1/4-inch drive ratchet. That looks like I'm gonna have to go out. All right, you know what? Maybe I don't. I don't need a ratchet. My ratchet and stuff's under the engine compartment. It's sitting on top of the motor. and it's raining out there, and I'd rather not go out there. Let's see if we can do it with the hand one. Yeah, these car dealerships and stuff, they really piss me off sometimes. They just everybody's out to scam everybody. This door we need to clean up and paint. But we can do that after we're done with the cabinet. You know what I hate about these midway games is even though this one's all plywood and the front's plywood, I don't know how they do it or if the wood swells up, but sometimes the nut is literally buried flush in the wood and you can't get a socket on it. So this last one is literally flush with the plywood, unless there's not one on there. I don't know what's in there. I cannot get the socket to grab on it. So I wonder if I grab a hammer and I lightly tap this into the wood, if then I can get a grab on it. You know, let me see if I can just tap this socket. I don't want to grind the wood all up if I don't have to. It worked. And there goes the nut in the cabinet. So, I wonder what the hell this gray paint is. Oh, he stripped the paint off. There was paint on the cabinet. Somebody painted the front gray at one point or something. I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely remnants of gray paint. That must have been pretty ugly looking. We gotta get this kick plate off too. It's nailed on there. I do have another one for that. So we have that off. I need to take this off. I want to take these side metals off real quick. We're not getting to the black paint today, but since I'm here, I might as well just get these off real fast. There's only a couple bolts that hold them on. We're going to recreate this artwork here for this label. I actually need to take a picture of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick it on the outside. I'll put a laminate on it because I'm not buying a used piece of glass for $200 on eBay because that's the only one I can find right now. And I'm afraid to scrape the paint off the backside and stick it from the backside because I don't want to start tearing into the other stuff that looks really good still. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it right on the outside. Sometimes you can't do everything 100% the way you like. These parts, I'm just gonna throw in the cabinet right now. I'll get them out later. Clean them up, we'll paint them all. Make them look brand new again. They're in pretty good shape. A little bit of black paint on them. Now these midway cabinets, they have plastic dowels in the wood, and I usually like to take them out. If I can get them out. Grab a pair of pliers. These are what they look like. They're kind of a goofy looking peg. But I like taking them out because I don't want to tape them off and I don't want to get paint all over them and make it look like crap. Even though you'll never see it. That's all their purpose is to just locate the bracket in the right location. That's all the purpose they serve. If you didn't have them, it's not the end of the world. You could still put your cabinet together. You should be able to find your screw holes in the side, unless somebody has modified it and made a bunch of screw holes, then it might be a little bit harder to do. I suppose you could probably put a wooden dowel in there as well, if you didn't have the plastic ones. You might be able to find the plastic ones online, I'm not sure. They look about to be like a 5/16 maybe. All these parts will clean up nice, and I'll spray them with that high temp aluminum paint. I think it's a really good match to what it originally looked like. Plus, it puts a coating on the wood, on the metal, to keep it from rusting in the future. Okay, for now I'm just going to take off this coin bucket inside here, and that'll be good for right now. Hopefully I can get it off without having to go get, I have another ratchet in the back room I can go get. When I do the artwork touch up, I'll kind of show you how I'm doing it, and then I'll kind of speed through it. I'll video it, but I'll fast forward because it's going to take a little bit of time. Now these nuts or carriage bolts are different than normal ones. These are thinner. They have a thinner head and they're a little bit fatter in size. An elevator bolt will be a close match. So keep that in mind if anybody ever needs. They don't have any of them at all. Look up elevator bolts on Amazon or eBay, and those will work as well. I think Lowe's might even sell elevator bolts. They're a pretty flat head, but they still don't look too bad when they're painted. I've had to use them in the past. Actually, my tapper cabinet has elevator bolts on it that are brass plated, because at the time I sent everything to the brass plater, I did not have the bolts for that. But they look fine. You would never notice it. Go get a ratchet. I'm gonna go get a ratchet, pop those bottom two off, and then I'll be back. Pop off this plastic real quick. go ahead and make that wooden dowels for the front here. It's about 3/4 of the size of this. Come over here to my little bench sander here. Probably should get a piece of glass or some glasses on. I swear I just cleaned this table off. Now it's messy. Okay, I have the first one made. So we're gonna glue it and hammer it in there and then cut it off flush. The glue I'm using is Tight Bond 3 Ultimate Wood Glue, waterproof interior exterior glue. Okay, I gotta go whittle this down a little bit more. So I can get it in that side, and then we'll glue that side one. And then I'm going to show you how I treat these wooden dowels to get them to not show through in the future. Okay, as you can see, well, I'm going to fast forward that, but it took me less than 10 minutes to make these. If I'd have drove the Lowe's, it's a minimum of 15 minutes each way. It's a half an hour. Plus, being inside, checking out and everything, I'm probably going to waste 45 minutes to an hour to go get 2 dowel pins. And I just made them in under 10 minutes. Now when I cut this piece off, I'm going to save the other half of it because it's still good. I'll put it back in the box of pins. I'm trying not to use a lot of air tools or power tools on this restoration, just to show you that you can do a bunch of this stuff without a bunch of expensive tools. But unfortunately, I do have to use a grinder, but I'm not going to use an air grinder. I'm just going to use my cordless grinder, which a lot of people have a corded grinder, which is just fine as well. So basically, now that this is flush, I want to dig into the wood around it. I'm using a cutoff wheel. You can use a grinding wheel, obviously. I just had that on here already, so I'm just using it. Okay, so now if you noticed, I dug down probably 1/8 of an inch. Now we're gonna fill that with that short strand fiberglass filler. The reason why we use a short strand fiberglass filler is there's little strands of fiberglass in that filler, and what it does is it bonds over the surface from the dowel pin to the wood, so that if you just cut these flush like this and smear a little Bondo over it, you're going to see that dowel pin. It's going to show back through in the future because it's going to shrink around it. By grinding it on an angle like this and beveling it into the wood and using that short strand fiberglass first, and then a little bit of Bondo over top, you won't get that, you won't have that issue that you do if you don't do this way. Okay, let's mix up a little bit of short strand fiberglass. A little bit of work down here, but I'll hit that with regular filler. I'll get my table cleaned off again today. This short strand filler, I've been buying it at Harbor Freight. Seems to be the cheapest place around. This is it right here, made by Bondo. Just says short strand fiberglass. I think it's like 20 bucks a quart, somewhere in that area. It's definitely harder to sand. You want to use like an 80 grit or a 36 grit sandpaper to sand it. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to mix up a little bit of this, and then I'm going to go in the house and work on my plumbing in the basement and let this dry for a while. I want the glue to dry around the dowel pins for a little while, and then this stuff takes a little bit longer to dry. So I'm going to let this cure really well for several hours, and then I'll come back out here. We'll sand down these spots, do a little bit of body filler, and then at that point we can start touching up the paint on the cabinet itself. Actually, I got some body work to do around the back edge too. So maybe we won't be. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how it goes. I'd like to get a bunch done in this video if I could. Just because I don't want this cabinet out here very long. I want to get it in the house. It is missing leg levelers, I think, on the front, or actually all four. It's just sitting on the back wheels right now. So I need to put leg levelers on it, which I have them in the house. Make sure you guys don't stir this stuff. Make sure you fold it over so you don't get a bunch of air bubbles in it. See, I'm pulling it tight. I don't want a bunch of extra on the cabinet because, like I said, this stuff is kind of hard to sand. I'm going to try to sand this stuff by hand rather than using a bunch of fancy sanders. Now, you know, this cabinet has some gouge marks and stuff where they scraped off the black paint. Probably just lightly sand it by hand just to kind of feather it out a little bit. And once you put a couple good coats of paint on here, it should, in theory, cover that up and look pretty darn good. Okay, so we have that hole, and that hole. You know what, this one on the bottom is a little bit thick. Let's just stick it in here. Not gonna hurt it. Make sure there's no other, well actually there are some small holes over here. I guess we can use it on. Just like little screw holes, like they had something screwed to the side of the cabinet over here. Actually, there's a couple of big gouges over here too. Let's get the big gouges because this stuff holds up better on edges than regular Bondo. Why waste it if we have it mixed up? What do you guys, how do you guys feel about doing a conversion on a cabinet? Is it something you guys think is cool or dumb? Let me know. Curious. Sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place. Stuff in my way. This is a pretty good gouge right there. And you won't get it perfect with just this, but you can get the majority of it filled in, and it's really strong. Okay, like I said, I'm gonna let this dry for several hours, come back, and we will sand it down and start doing some Bondo work. Okay guys, I'm back. It's been a few hours. Sink is hooked up in the basement, that's working, so now I can clean my monitor chassis, PCBs and stuff like that with some simple green and a soft brush in the sink. You know, then I could dry them down there. Maybe I'll get a hair dryer or something to dry them off, or I don't know, I'll figure that out. But anyways, so that's all done. I got one more wire to run and switch for the isolation transformer so that I can have that on a switch so that when I want to test a monitor, I can flip the switch on the wall and power up the isolation transformer. I'm gonna do that later on today. So now what I'm gonna do is sand down these spots that I filled earlier with just some 80 grit on a sanding block. And this is gonna go real fast because I scraped it flush with the cabinet. I didn't let it build up, and that's one of the main things you want to do is try not to let your filler build up really high, because if you do, you're just gonna be sanding a lot longer than you need to be. That's already ready. because there's, like I said, I didn't overfill it. This I overfilled a little bit. Now I gotta try to be careful because I don't want to hit his hand and have to repair that artwork. Not worried about the orange right here, I'll just repaint that. I'm gonna have to buy more orange paint because I only bought that one little tube, not realizing that I had these big stripes to fill. So I'll have to go to Walmart and buy a couple more of those tubes. Hopefully they have them in stock by me. Like you can see here how hard this stuff is to sand. Okay, I'm gonna keep sanding here, and then we will put on a coat of glazing putty, and I'll show you what that is next. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep sanding. I'll video it, and then I'll just kind of speed through it. Okay, this part up here, that wood is bumped out a little bit. I'm gonna have to use my grinder and grind that wood down right there to flatten it back out. It's got a pretty good hump right here. Should be better now. I don't have a mask on right now. I'm not doing a ton of sanding, really not much in the air at all. So now we're going to use my glazing putty that I like to use. Fantastic glaze. I buy it at O'Reilly Auto Parts. It's about $20 a tube. It's a very smooth filler that sands pretty easy. Now you want to put this past where your other filler was. So if your other filler stops right here, take this stuff back further. And what it does is it helps you feather out the edges between the two surfaces. I wonder if I should try to get some orange paint mixed up in a quart, or just buy a couple more of those tubes. I don't know what to do yet. That color is spot on though, so I should probably just buy more of those tubes. Now this is why I like to use these metal ones, is I'm bending it. What I'm doing is I'm feathering the edges while not disturbing the center very much. Just to make it a little bit easier to sand. The better you get at spreading the stuff, the less body work or sanding you have to do. Nobody likes to sand, especially by hand. I gotta mix up some more. All right, I'm gonna mix up more, spread it on the rest of the spots, and then I'll come back and we'll start sanding it. Okay, you always wanna knock down your sandpaper with a rougher grit, or your sandpaper, your body filler with a rougher grit at first. So this is a new piece of 80 grit. Then we'll go to 180 grit after that. If it doesn't need another coat of body filler. If it needs another coat, leave it at 80 grit and then put more body filler, then sand it with 80 grit again, and then go with 180. You can go up to 320 if you want. Seeing that we're gonna roll this with a roller and a paintbrush, I don't see a reason to go that high of a grit because you're just gonna fill in the sanding marks with the paint because you're putting it on heavier than you would if you were spraying it. Okay, sides sanded out extremely nice. They all look good. I missed one spot up there. I forgot to put filler on the front of the cabinet. Now, I didn't stop sanding and put it on because I figured I'd wait till I got the sides done, because if the sides needed another coat somewhere, why not just mix it all up in one shot? So now that I know that the sides are good, I'll go ahead and hit these two, and I gotta sand that down there. So let me go get some filler mixed up and we'll put it on the front here. One piece of sandpaper got all this sanded down. As you can see, it really sands fairly quick. I would say I probably spent 15, maybe 20 minutes at the most sanding it, but I think it was more towards the 15-minute mark. I didn't look at the clock, but that's just my guess. Now, I'm just doing this to show you guys that you don't have to have fancy tools to do this. When I first started doing body work and painting cars and stuff, almost everything I had to do, I had to sand by hand because I couldn't afford the tools and the stuff to do it. But now that I'm older and I've done it for long enough, I can afford the tools, and I'm not gonna lie, it sucks sanding by hand. I don't enjoy it, nobody enjoys it, but if you are on a budget and you want to have these kind of things and you don't have a ton of money to waste, you could still do it. I'm showing you right here that it is still possible. You can still get incredible results from doing it like this, and it's not going to break the bank. I got some extra filler left over. The back door has some chips in it, so why not use it rather than throwing it away and work on starting to fill these in. But don't get discouraged, you know, if you can't afford fancy tools and stuff like that. look at it this way. I've been there. That was me. When I was young, I was into cars a lot. I couldn't afford to take my car somewhere to get a paint job. And that's how this all started. I couldn't afford to pay to get somebody to have somebody paint my car because it was very expensive. So I just started learning on my own. I didn't have YouTube back then. None of that stuff was around. You know, I'm 48 years old, so we're talking, I was 15 years old when I started, younger than that, 14 or 15 when I painted my first car. So we're talking, let's say 15, 25, 35, 45, we're talking 33 years ago. There was no internet. There was no, you know, pick up your cell phone and look at pictures of what somebody else did. You just had to learn it for yourself or have somebody that you know that does it give you a hand. I had to learn pretty much everything myself up until I was in my early 20s. Then I had a buddy who worked at a body shop, and I had a shop across the street from his shop, and after work every day he would come by my shop and teach me something, one or two little things a night, and I picked up on it really quick, and then after that it just was more of like perfecting your art, I guess you would say. You just got to keep doing it, repetition, just keep going and going and going, and eventually you'll get good at it. And that's pretty much with anything in life. If you're passionate enough and willing to put in the work, you will get the reward at the end. It might not be in a week, it might not be in a year, it might be 10 years down the road, but it will eventually benefit you. So that's, you know, just don't get discouraged and not want to do something because you don't think you have the skill set to do it, or you don't have a ton of money and you think that you need a ton of money to do this stuff, because you really don't. I mean, keep in mind, this kick cabinet, I paid $100 for it. I'm going to probably have $100 in materials because I'm not going to use a whole tube of this, so I can't really consider $20 for the whole tube. You got to kind of look at it as, you know, how many cabinets will I get out of this? If I use this on 4 cabinets, it's $5 a cabinet. Same thing with these paints. If you don't have the ability to spray paint, that's fine. It's not a big deal. Buy these quarts. They're $29 a quart. More than likely, you're going to get more than one cabinet out of it, especially the black paint. You know, you buy a quart for $30 and you get 2 cabinets out of it. Now it's only $15 for that cabinet for the black paint. Once again, sanding. You don't have to have fancy sanders. You can do it by hand like I'm showing you today. You can go to Harbor Freight, buy yourself a cheap sanding block. They even have cheap sandpaper that works just fine. Nothing wrong with it. The reason why I have all these expensive sandpapers and stuff is because I paint cars. And, you know, to be honest with you, this cabinet is a mess right now, but this cabinet of sandpaper and all this stuff is basically extras from jobs, if you think about it. I factor in so much money per job, per sandpaper, primer, clear coat, all that stuff. And sometimes I make out, sometimes I lose. But in the end, I don't pay for this stuff for my own personal use because it's leftover stuff. And I buy it in bulk quantity, which gets me cheaper pricing. So just keep that in mind. And also, try it. If you can't fix it, somebody can. I've always thought that in my head ever since I was little. I'm going to try to fix it. If I screw it up, somebody out there can fix it for me. You know, just like me starting to work on some more PCBs and stuff like that. I look at it this way. I can't figure it out. I'll send it to somebody that knows how to do it. You know what I mean? Why not give it a shot? Because maybe I can figure it out. You know, this day and age with the internet, all these forums, Facebook, all that stuff, if you really start researching something, like, let me try to come up, like, let's say you're having a problem with one of your arcade monitors. There's so many videos and threads and discussions about all these monitors that usually you can narrow it down and figure out what's wrong with your monitor by just doing a little research. And then once you get to the point where you've fixed quite a few of them, it seems to be a lot of the same basic issues from one monitor to the next. You will get the rare occasions where you just can't figure something out. Like that, when I did my Popeye restore and I made videos on it, I spent like 8 hours in one day fixing that Sanyo Easy 20 Easy monitor for that game. I could not freaking get that thing to work for the life of me. I was stealing parts from other chassis to put on there, but I eventually got it, and that was just one of those instances that it was just a tough repair. Same thing that I'm dealing with right now with this Sinistar. It seems like no matter what I do, it's not working. But, you know, that was my fault. I ordered the wrong chips that I was trying to replace yesterday. When I ordered the 257 chips, that's all it said in the description was, you know, SN74, I think it is, LS257. That's all it said in the description. It didn't give me the BN letters after it. And clearly, you know, that made the difference. So I did order new ones that end in 257N. So hopefully those are the correct ones. What am I gonna do with the other ones? I don't know. Luckily, I only bought 10 of the other ones, so it's not that big a deal. I ordered 8 of these new ones, which was like 20 bucks. It was like 2 something a piece. So fingers crossed that these are the right ones. I pop that chip in there and then that fixes the flying problem. And hopefully by that time, I'll have the other chips to hopefully fix the video board. You know, and Arcade Jason, he helps me out quite a bit. Usually if I have a question, I will message him or call him, and he usually gets back to me fairly quick. And you know, he's really good at diagnosing stuff like that. So, but don't give up. There's always a cheaper way to do something. I'm gonna let this dry for a couple more minutes. We're gonna sand the front of this down. And then I think, you know what, while I'm waiting for this to dry for a couple more minutes, let's get this artwork out inside the screen area here. Just because I don't want to get it any dirtier than it already is. Let's pull off this front metal bracket. This is all ripped up. I don't know if I can fix this. I think I can. I don't know why if that's supposed to be like that, but let's take this apart real quick. I'm not going to get to doing artwork touch-up on this video, but what I think I want to do is, once I get done sanding these last couple spots of Bondo, I'm not using primer. My camera lens. I'm not using primer to fill over these spots. So I think what I want to do is take a little bit of the white paint and just do one coat of white paint over the Bondo areas, let it soak into the Bondo, and let it dry overnight, so that tomorrow when I start touching up the artwork, it won't be as bad to go over that. Still gonna take several coats to go over it, but we will be able to go over it. I still need to sand this with 180 grit. It's currently only at 80 grit, and to be honest with you, the 80 grit is probably all you need when you're using a roller and brushes, because that puts a little bit of a texture on your panel, and we're gonna have to put so many coats on that chances are it's going to cover it. But we'll just hit it real quick with 180, just to make it a little bit smoother. I mean, it's not gonna hurt, and it's only gonna take a couple minutes to do that. So let's pull these couple pieces apart. That's just about set up. Very minor stickiness. Now, another thing. Let's say you put body filler on, okay? And your body filler, a half an hour later, is sticky. Oh, my phone's ringing. Give me a second. Okay, let's say that you put body filler on, and a half an hour later it's sticky. Okay, it's like real sticky to the touch. Take some acetone on a rag, rub over it lightly with some acetone, wait a minute or two, and that stickiness will be gone. I don't know why, I think it's the resin that comes up to the surface, and sometimes it just doesn't always cure the way it should. Now the good thing about not spraying this cabinet is I technically don't need to take the wiring harness out that is in there, the part that I'm keeping, because I'm not going to get overspray on it. And it's fairly clean looking, so I'm not too concerned with it. But As you can see, this is pretty dusty and dirty. You know, it's a little whacked out of shape, but what am I gonna do? Nobody makes it. And I'm sure as hell not gonna go waste a bunch of money trying to find another used one. Look how dirty that is. That's static electricity from the monitors. But I think we'll be careful with it. We'll be able to wipe it down, and I think we'll be able to get it pretty nice looking. Now these sides are stapled on, so, and this is stapled on. So I'm gonna have to grab something to, I'm gonna grab a little flathead screwdriver and pry those staples out. Okay, now we gotta try to be careful. I don't wanna screw this up. So I'm gonna try to get my screwdriver behind. Oh, look at that, popped out like butter. So I get behind the staple and the cardboard. Just gently lift up on it, or push away from it. I have to use a bigger screwdriver on the back part. Give myself a little bit more leverage. One side right there. Staples are still in the cardboard. I'll take them out later when I get ready to wash it. I'm gonna try a real thin or a real lightly sprayed rag with some Windex and see how it wipes off. I don't know how it's gonna wipe yet. Just want to try to be careful. And yes, this is supposed to have 2 speakers. So I did order another speaker from Arcade Shop, another 6x9. I have another brand new 6x9, so I ordered a second one. I don't know what this 6x9 looks like, but since I have to put one new one in, we're gonna go ahead and put 2 new ones in, and then I'll save the one from here as long as it's not screwed up, and possibly use it in the future, or in one of my other MCR games if maybe a speaker goes bad. Basically, this is just showing you the CRT monitor, just, you know, where your dials and stuff are. And basically, this is just a piece of paper that I think is just dividing from the coins falling into the back of the cabinet is my guess. This we could just tape back together with some packing tape and clean it up, and we should be good to go. I mean, I could technically make another one of these, actually. Maybe I should just make a new one, because it is kind of screwed. Maybe I can cut this sticker out with an X-Acto knife and glue it to another piece. So maybe I'll make a new one. It's just like white paper, because that's not going to come very clean, and it's not that big a deal. Okay, so basically that's it. We have this piece in there, which we'll take out after. We'll paint that black just to clean it up. Bolts are in here still, so. All right, we have the mirror in here I want to get out eventually, and that goes out from the back door. We also need to take the speakers and the marquee off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go eat dinner real quick, come back, sand these spots. Then let's go ahead and pull off the marquee, the speakers, and the mirror. Let's get all that stuff out of the way, even probably the monitor thing that holds the monitor in. Let's just get all that stuff out of the way, roll a little bit of white paint on the Bondo areas, and call it a night. Let it dry overnight. Tomorrow, pick back up and start touching up the artwork at that point. So I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, let's get the rest of this taken apart, and then we will do the final sanding and roll some white paint on these spots. It's kind of cold in here tonight. I don't have the furnace on yet in here. Might have to turn the heat up a little bit overnight so that it cures, so that we can continue on tomorrow. All these metal brackets and stuff I'm going to clean up and paint. Pretty good, they're in really good shape, so should not take much to get them painted up. This is all kind of screwed up here. The wood's all blown out where the screws are. And they're different size screws. So we're going to throw the screws away. Probably going to have to do a little bit of Bondo work up here just to fill that in. Maybe I'll use a little bit of that short strand fiberglass so that I can drill some new holes and the screws can actually have something to hold into, because this is blown out here and here a little bit and a little bit in the middle. Okay, I don't remember what size these nuts are. These ones are loose. At least, oh, it's spinning. I think it's 3/8 or 11/32. Ouch. 11/32. You can buy new ones of these carriage bolts, these little ones for the speakers, but I like trying to use all the original stuff. Same thing with the speaker grills. They sell identical new ones, but I always use the original ones if I can. I have bought some in the past because I didn't have a choice. They're in good shape. This is that piece of wood that was in here. Somebody did a pretty decent job at it, but don't need it. So, I'm looking to see if I can find the second speaker wires. These are the marquee lights, and I'm only seeing 2 speaker wires, so we are missing the other set. Which is not a big deal, we'll get it figured out. Like I said, I'm going to be making my own harness. So I'll make sure I do a good video on that. Or several, 2 videos maybe. What is wrong with this ratchet? Okay, so what they did was, since they got rid of the other speaker, they put both ground wires onto one speaker. If you look here, they give you a ground wire for each speaker. One goes on that one goes on that one. So at least all that wiring is still there. curious to see what ohm speaker this is. It's either a 4 or an 8 ohm. I don't know if it's actually going to tell you on here. You might have to look in the manual. These we just literally need to just wipe them down with some wax and grease remover, scuff them up, wipe them down with some wax and grease remover, spray some matte finish on there, and we'll be done with those. Same thing with the coin door. I tell you what, that's in really good shape. Not much to do on that either. Speaker's in really good shape. Not torn or anything like that. Now I don't know how to distinguish if this is a 4 ohm or an 8 ohm. There's some numbers on here like 17-3-430. So does that mean it's a 4 ohm, 30 watt? Maybe. I'm not sure. I believe I ordered a 4 ohm and I have a 4 ohm. I mean, technically we could use this one, but we'll see what happens. All right, so now basically it's all I need to take out is this piece of wood for the monitor, maybe those monitor brackets so we can clean those, and the mirror. I want to get the mirror out of there because I want to be able to clean it real good. So I'd like to get it out of there. So I think these are 7/16. And these have these weird washers, and they kind of lock into the wood when you get down far enough. I want to do a real nice job on this cabinet as far as painting the inside of where it's already black and stuff, kind of blending it in, making it look as original as possible. Obviously our artwork on the outside is not going to be 100% perfect, but we're not looking for 100% perfect artwork. We want it to look, you know, like it was. If I wanted 100% perfect looking artwork, I would get vinyl and cover it. But we don't want that. We're not after that. We want to see a little bit of the wood grain. That's how it was originally. I'm going to pull these brackets off too, just so I can clean everything, paint the wood, make it look good. But I could take those off camera. I'm really interested in getting this mirror out real quick. And I might as well take these handles off. Be a Phillips screwdriver. This little flathead might work. I need the back door off anyway so I can fix it. And we're not going to be screwing the back door back in. We're going to make it work the way it should. Okay, so I think we got to take these wooden brackets off the sides here, and then the mirror will lift out. And the last couple brackets and stuff, I'll just do tomorrow or something. Now, I don't know if it matters which direction this mirror goes. That I cannot answer. top of the cabinet is in nice shape, which is good because for some reason they made the tops of these cabinets Tron, all of them, with MDF material, and it collects moisture and it usually swells up real bad. But this one's in nice shape. My Tron, believe it or not, I did that restoration before I was doing YouTube videos. When I got that game, it was completely rotted halfway down. I think I did like a little video of like just random pictures of it. But anyways, I did the top of the cabinet still had the white covering on the MDF. I literally peeled it off and it was like perfect underneath, which is cool. Somebody had the thought to leave that on there, because a lot of times what happened with some of these games is, you know, back in the day, they were in an arcade, and let's say that, you know, the roof leaks and it drips onto the cabinet. Well, guess what? Your cabinet swells up. So somebody left that on there. I don't know if that's why they did it or not, but it saved the whole top of that cabinet. I have 4 burned out lights in my ceiling, and they're 3 of them are on an angle. That's so weird, so random. It's not the light, it's the light bulb itself is not burned out. It's an LED bulb. It's the controller box that burns out. But look at this, perfectly in a row on an angle. How weird is that? And then I got one out over here. Strange. These lights come from Amazon, if anybody's interested. I buy like big boxes of them, like 40 pack or something like that, and they're only like $100 some. They're extremely cheap, so I don't get too pissed off when the controller boxes wear out, whatever. I mean, as cheap as they are, you can't buy, for the $100 some that I pay for them all, I think there's like 48, I think, in a box. You could maybe get 10 of them at Home Depot for the same price. So you gotta deal with it sometimes. And they're just as bright as the ones from Home Depot. Tell you what, these Midway games have a lot of parts, but I'll tell you what has more parts is if you want to restore a Tato cabinet like Zookeeper or something, and you want all those bolts to be cleaned and everything, there is a ton of bolts and brackets on those cabinets. Nowadays they would probably make these games and they probably use plastic mirror. I think it's the same on both sides. It's filthy. Yeah, it just looks like a double mirror. All right, I'm gonna pull these handles off. And we're gonna get this bodywork finished up and put some white paint and call it a night. I'm gonna go back in the basement, continue to organize. I have to clean the gym out now. I have a little gym down there. I used to be big into working out when I was young. I'm gonna try to get back into it a little bit. Maybe I can get rid of my gut. But anyways, there's probably 5 or 6 monitors in there, bunch of parts, wiring harnesses, all my parts for my Tempest are in there, my Stargate parts are in there. Just got a lot of stuff. And like I said, I picked up another game today, which I already have the game, but I'll tell you, I paid $100 for it. There's no game board in it. It's been converted, but it has a monitor in it, so I didn't want to pass up on it. Kinda was thinking about doing a conversion, but it's not a really good game I would be converting the cabinet to, but it's got some pretty cool ass artwork too. If I can find the parts cheap enough, I might consider it, just because I think it's really cool looking. And to be honest with you, the game's got like some bad reviews on it as far as like not a very fun game to play. But you know what though? I've played a lot of games that people say are not fun to play, and I actually enjoy them. So, especially people that make fun of my, or not even me, just in general, like that bags game, lawn darts, the bowling game and all that. I enjoy all that stuff. Call me stupid, but I think that's some fun shit. I'm not into Mortal Kombat and stuff, into fighting games much. That's not my cup of tea. I guess basically when I was into the games and stuff, it was kind of before that time, you know, as far as I was into more of the older games. You know what? I'm gonna end up pulling the harness out. It's pretty gross looking in the corner there and stuff. I'm gonna pull it out and wash it. We'll just wash it downstairs in the basement in that sink. Maybe we'll just fill that sink up with some soapy water and let it just soak in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and quit taking stuff apart right now. This last minor stuff I'll do off camera. More of these plastic pegs in here, which hold the monitor brackets on the cabinet while you put the screws in. So yeah, I just have this bracket to take off. I got to take off that, and I might as well just pop the harness out. And at that point, we'll get the power supply out of here, and it'll be bare empty cabinet. We can sand the inside of it, get it cleaned up, vacuum it out real nice. It's in really good shape. I mean, I'll bring you in here to see it. I mean, look at the front of the cabinet and everything. The wood's really nice. So I think if I just take the sander on this bottom part and sand it down, I think it's going to turn out real nice. And we'll just paint the black down to here. This was sprayed originally, but we're not going to spray it. If you notice, everything I'm doing on here is by hand, including taking the cabinet apart. I'm just trying to show you that everything's being done by hand on this game. I don't know if I'll use a sander on the inside. Maybe I'll use a battery operated one. So let me grab a new piece of 80 grit. I'm gonna knock down those spots, and then actually, no, this is still good. I'm gonna knock down these spots, and then I'm gonna go over everything with 180. And then after that, we'll touch up some of these Bondo spots with some white paint. Okay, I realized that when I bought that big thing of rollers and the little roller, that there wasn't a little rolling pan inside of there. So I'm just going to use my little glass plate. I do not have a little rolling pan here. They want 2 to 4 hours between coats, but we're going to let it dry overnight. All I'm doing is just trying to get a coat on here that is going to soak into the Bondo. Now the black areas, I'm gonna leave alone. Black paint will cover it pretty quickly. Now I'm not worried about covering the tape lines between the colors because I know where it's at. Plus I can go back on the video and look, but I'm not covering all the areas, so it's not completely covering them, and we'll retape it all. I'm actually going to put a coat of white on this whole top part so that maybe the yellow will be a little bit more forgiving. Now, if we have a little bit extra texture, that clear coat definitely helps get rid of the texture. Little tiny crack right there, like not like a little split in the wood maybe. So basically we're using this paint as our primer. Now these roller sleeves, I just throw them away. I'll rinse the plate off. They're not worth trying to rinse out. Okay guys, that's going to end this. We're going to call this part 1 of Kickman restoration. We got all the bodywork fixed up. We got the first coat of paint on, acting as like a primer. Everything so far has been done by hand, other than the grinder for a couple little tiny things, which that is normal. Guess there's a few things you just really can't do by hand. I guess you could do it by hand, but it would be extremely hard. So that's pretty much it. Tomorrow I plan on starting to touch up the colors on the inside, get all this stuff going, and then we'll work our way out. I have to go see if I can pick up some more of that orange, because the more I was thinking about it, it's such a good match that I probably should just buy enough of that and just do it. I don't know if I'm going to have to mix any colors together on this one, guys. Usually I'll mix up different color reds or yellows or something to get the color right, but I think this is going to be fairly easy as far as that goes. Basically just white, yellow, orange, and black. And all this right here, this little like cityscape behind him, it's all in pretty good shape. Got a little run right here in the where they cleaned it off. Might have to see if I can get that off. But that's pretty much it. I've been working on the dually on my other channel. I spent yesterday wire wheeling and painting the whole rear frame of this thing. So I'm starting to get this thing ready for paint. So I'll be working on that tomorrow as well. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the comments and questions and thumbs up. The more the better. Any questions or comments, feel free to ask. Please don't forget to subscribe. Hit the thumbs up. Any questions, comments, anything, feel free to ask or leave the comment. I always respond to pretty much everybody, even if it's something that is not really something you can respond to. I'll at least give you a thumbs up or something like that. So thanks, guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.